Good evening, welcome. We'll give it a few minutes, but we've gone live on. Hopefully, you found me through the Facebook closed book group, but we're also on YouTube. And I've got quite a lot to get through to tonight. So um, I suppose let me start by introducing myself. So, welcome and welcome to Mindset Guide Leadership Masterclass. And, this is going to be a regular event, at least on a monthly basis, as I go through the 7 levels to progressive personal leadership. Now, when you learn to make that part of your lifestyle and what I mean by that on a daily basis, then you lift the lid on your potential. And so, my name's Shane O'Donnell, and I help business owners and what we call natural born leaders, and everyone has natural born leaders' capabilities within themselves, um, to make personal leadership learning part of their lifestyle and help them lift the lid on their personal potential, on their business's potential. And I'll show you, I'll give you an example so that you got something visual to kind of understand what I'm saying about that. There was a gentleman there is a gentleman by the name of John Maxwell who wrote a wonderful book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I, my first copy, which is behind me, I started reading probably in 2004, and I had no idea everything he said made sense. But the problem was it was too high level for me at that stage. Even though I'd run multiple businesses, I'd in some of my staff in the business that I owned, and I was a partner in a listed company. I had 150 staff. I had 90 staff. I had staff in an office in the UK, in Johannesburg, and Victoria Falls, and Harare, and so I had staff all over the place. I had staff here. I've had a business here in Australia, and even though I had all of that, I I couldn't I couldn't. Everything he says in here made sense, but I didn't have anywhere to kind of hang the information in my mind because I didn't have order in my mind. No one's seen the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. So it's quite difficult unless you have a picture of the mind, then you cannot really create order. So that's what I hope to give you tonight is give you a picture of the mind. So my story, I want to tell you a story, and maybe this might help you. I was born in Australia. When my sister was born, I was about 1 and a bit year old. My father, who was from Zimbabwe, he said to my mother, who he met and married in Perth, "We're going back to live in Zimbabwe." So he took us back to what was then Rhodesia, and then we lived through that whole war in the Rhodesian War. It was a, a liberation war for the people that from the country, the Zimbabweans, Black Zimbabweans, and now it is an independent country. And that whole war was, for better or for worse, a complete waste of people's lives. That's all it was. That's what we had to live through. But we lived through that, and then it went into a time of just euphoria. Everything was just growing, from 1980 onwards, and it was a wonderful place to live. But um, we got to a point, my wife and I, where the options for what we were doing was when our girls got to high school age, they would have to go to boarding school. My wife said, "There's no way." So we decided to move back to Australia, and and I'm so glad we did, because our daughters have just thrived in the country. They've absolutely embraced it. They love it. They've got Australian accents. I don't have an Australian accent. I was born here. They were born there. They come here. They've got Australian accents. How does that work? Anyway, um, so we arrive in Sydney, and within 2 years, I had lost everything my wife and I owned in a dismal business failure in Sydney. It was diabolical. Anyway, that was 2005, and it took that for me to discover, what it was that I genuinely wanted to do in my life, with my life, and why. I kind of think of it this way. I was 35 years old. If I lived to 90 years old, I had that much time left in my life. So what did I want to do with my life? What was worthy of my time and effort if I was going to go into anything? Because I had lost everything. I these are the constraints I had. I had debt from that loss. I got really sick. I didn't have another business to go into. I don't have any qualification, no formal qualification. I never went to university. I didn't. I've never worked in a first world country, so I had nothing to offer anyone. So all I got was kind of commission-based sales jobs where you drive your own car and you only get paid if you sell something, which I I really appreciate because it taught me a lot of things. But at the time, I wish I could have just got a job and able to pay the rent and so on. We didn't own a home. I didn't have a business network, and it all looked pretty bleak because I was 35 years old, and my wife kept saying to me, go to university and then you can get a job when you qualify. So I said, I don't know what I want to do at university. I don't want to go to university because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I only love doing what I'm doing right now, is talking about personal development, leadership, personal leadership. That's all I care about, really. And so I think this is what I was born to do. I wasn't born to be an accountant. I wasn't born to be a lawyer. I wasn't born to be a business manager. I'm hopeless at managing businesses. I've owned lots of businesses, and like I say, one listed on a stock exchange. We just sold one for a life-changing amount of money. It's made us financially independent. But to be honest, when it came to running those business, I can't say that I was particularly good at it. Managers are really good at processes and managing systems and maintaining order. And it's probably not my strong point and never will be. So if I'd gone to university and done an MBA or something clever like that, I would have been a complete waste of time. I probably would have given up because it just, when it starts getting to the nitty gritty of actually, you know, filling out forms and things, anyway. So I had to lose everything for me to take a step back and say, what do I want to do with my life? What's worthy of my time and effort? And I wasn't prepared to just go and get a job because that's why I believe I'd failed at everything else. I'd created success, but then when I created the success of this listed company, actually achieved a goal that I set when I was 15 to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. I achieved that. But the day after, my life started to go downhill because I didn't set another goal. I didn't understand the laws that govern navigating your life through success. I didn't understand that. No one taught me, and no one does teach us. We actually have to learn this for ourselves. And there's plenty of information, but if you can spend a lifetime just trying to take in information, or you can have an orderly process, and I found the orderly process. Thank God, because a man in Sydney by the name of Errol Shivers, he said, Shane, he lost a business in Sydney, a big one. He was a AMP financial planner. They changed the rules. He lost his business overnight. So did seven other guys. And he said that two of the other people out of those seven lost massive business. They jumped out of windows in Sydney. It was diabolical. Anyway, he said, Shane, I know what you're going through. So he, bless him, because he put me on the track. He put me on the path way to success. He put me on. He's a big believer and he loves John Maxwell. He actually was the guy that put me onto John Maxwell. But I didn't know what John was talking about. I had to go back and discover the core of my character, who I am, for me to build up to this level now. And some of you might get what John's saying, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you internalize it and you adhere that to your life. That's two different things. Reading a book, that's great, But if you actually learn to live by it and apply it on a daily basis, every decision when it comes to managing your life, managing your business, managing your department, doesn't matter what it is. That's two different things. So that's what I want to talk about today. So, um, you know, these personal mentors that I had, they taught me how to create the life that I've got now. So I get to do the same for others now. That is the pathway that I went. I had to lose everything for me to discover what I wanted. And that's what I want to talk about. The reason why, because I now love what I do and I have a passion for it. I want to show you how that works. When you know why, then it doesn't become, it's not work anymore. It's what, it's the role you're meant to play when you came to planet Earth, and everyone's got a role. When you discover your role, that role has value in other people's lives, and so people will pay you for that value. That's how it works. Most people, they at the age of 17, 18, maybe even younger, they make decisions for the 40, 50, 60-year old of what vocation they go into, and generally it's based on economic outcome. Oh, I'll earn that much doing that, so I'll just go and do it. Very few people consider what do they really want to do, what's on their heart to invest the rest of their life on. Because when you figure that out first, if you build that as your base, your foundation, your platform to build from, my word, you become unstoppable because that's who you're meant to be. That's what the whole word integrity means, because what it is what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're doing balances with what you believe. It's being authentic to yourself. The words that you use, the deeds that you do, the job that you do balances with what you believe you're meant to be or meant to do. When you're doing something for an economic gain, you'll push yourself through drive and personality to get for some people have got so much drive, they'll get to a huge level of success. But at some point, there'll come a point where they just can't do it anymore. And a lot of my clients, that's the point they've got to, where they might even love what they do because they get the reward, they get the accolade, they're really good at what they do, they know how to do it really well, but they've forgotten why they do it, or if ever they really believe in what they do. The financial rewards in that start to become stale. It happens to a lot of people. Anyway, so I'm just reading my notes here because I don't want to leave anything out because this is important. Um, so what I do is I look to connect with business owners and what I call these natural born leaders, these people that have decided that their life is worth more than just getting a paycheck, that they want to invest in creating something. They want to live, they want to experience a level of success, remarkable level of success, doing what they love. But also for a lot of them, they want to leave a legacy where they've actually invested in and developed the next generation of leaders. Those those humans they that you can see them in every organization. They haven't got a title, but they're the natural born leader in every organization. Those people, if they're given the right information and tools, blossom into the next generation. What's the importance of that? Well, a business leader, a business person, a natural born leader that invests on a daily basis in their personal leadership development. Make it a lifestyle, just an hour a day. And what happens is it becomes more than an hour a day because you see the benefit in your life. It ratchets up. And so you're just drawn to the information and you start internalizing, and it starts showing up in your life, in your decisions that you make, the way that you behave, the words that you use, the recognition. People start to notice you for your leadership ability, compounded over time. Given the passage of time. This progressive personal leadership learning over time lifts the lid on your potential, uh, and that's what I want to explain tonight. So um, when that happens, it builds healthy businesses that might even go into the next generation when that leader leaves the planet. Imagine that you invest your life in developing your own business or work in another business, and then it continues on. Your legacy goes on because you've invested in building, developing leaders, not as a leader developing followers. I love the definition of that. A leader who develops followers is someone who needs to be needed. But the leader who develops leaders, that leader knows they only want to be succeeded so they can continue to grow. So when you make that decision and you create a healthy business, that is so good for creating healthy communities because you're building leaders in the community, which builds a healthy, progressive nation. It's so important for this message to keep going out and for the natural born leaders to identify themselves. So I heard this the other day, and I can't remember where I heard it, but it says, and this is where I was fortunate, it's easier to go from broke to success, and in my case, financial independence in a first world country. I come from a third world country. Basically, I'm a farm boy that opened a couple of businesses and a couple of successes along the way. That's my qualification. Um, it's easier to go from broke to success than from excuses to success because the 5 years from when I achieved this significant goal when I was 30 that I'd set when I was 15. Just randomly, by the way, I set this thing. I didn't even know what a millionaire was when I was 15. Never met one. Wish I'd said US dollars. But I didn't even know what a US dollar was when I was 15. I mean, I was living on a farm, played rugby and was on a farm. That was it. Not much breadth and exposure to life. But So, so my point, well, the reason why I say this is not I'm trying to knock myself down. What I'm saying is that it doesn't require a high IQ or massive qualifications to set an intention for your life and go for it. All it requires is focus and um, being diligent in how you go about progressively improving your effectiveness as a leader of yourself because you cannot lead another person, one other person, until you learn to lead yourself first. So I'm going to share my screen because I want to get through this, give you a lot of information. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you want clarification on any, just send me an email or put a note on the Facebook. So I'll just share the screen here. Right up. So one of the first books that Errol got me to read was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Bob Proctor is the mentor that programs literally shifted everything for me. So I'd be doing all the free training on YouTube and I read lots of books, lots and lots of books. And I actually applied a lot of the material. I did courses, I applied the material, but it wasn't enough to really shift uh, my my success. We had a when I lost the business in Sydney, we moved up to Queensland, and I was driving around doing sales jobs all over from where we are in Queensland. I was going to Northern Territory. I was going to kind of down to Coffs Harbour in New South Wales and Tamworth and all the way up to Cairns. And it was a lot of time away. And my daughters were getting older. I mean, my oldest daughter was 13 when I just said to my wife, look, we've got to buy a business. So we haven't got any money. Oh, yeah, we got to buy a business. Otherwise, I'm going to be driving around and never see our daughters grow up. And that wasn't a good idea. So I was listening to the material because I was doing such long driving. I had then it was just a CD player in my car, in my Ford Falcon, and I just did distance listen to stuff over and over and over. Bill Nightingale, over and over. The Strangest Secret, best CD I've ever listened to, over and over and over. But Errol said to me, "Read this book, start to apply it." And when I got to this chapter on organized planning, this really stood out for me. It says, broadly speaking, there are two types of people in the world. One type is known as leaders and the other is followers. Decide at the onset or outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. The difference in compensation is vast. That's when my ears picked up because I was broke. So it's like compensation. I like that word. Anyway, the follower cannot reasonably expect the compensation to which a leader is entitled, although many followers make the mistake of expecting such pay. It's no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it's no credit to remain a follower. Most great leaders begin in the capacity of followers. They become great leaders because they were intelligent followers. Bob Proctor's always said, and all his training that we do with his material and that, become an intelligent follower. So you can learn quickly. And this is where he got it from, because he read this book literally a little bit every day for 60 years. That's why his name is in the bottom here. He knew this book backwards and front. This changed his life. He was a fireman and a mentor, gave actually the businessman next door to his fire station, gave him this book. Bob, there is something great within you, and this will help you bring it out. And so he was a broke fireman, earning $4,000 Canadian a year. And within 5 years, he had built a business that was generating $1 million. That was in the early 60s. That's when a million Canadian, US, because he had businesses in the US, Canada, and the UK, he was generating $1 million a year in 5 years because he internalized what was going on here. So he talks about intelligent follower all the time. With few exceptions, the person who cannot follow the leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. The person who can follow the leader efficiently is usually the person who develops into leadership most rapidly. The intelligent follower has many advantages, among them the opportunity to acquire knowledge from their leader. That really stood out for me. There was three things there. One, the difference in compensation, and two, um, if I made a decision, that was the point. I could continue being a follower. I was working for other companies as a salesman. I was a follower. If I just made a decision to become a leader, and all I had to do is become an intelligent follower for a period of time, then I would gain the knowledge quickly, which is, I thought I was doing it, but it was only until I bought my first Bob Proctor 12-month coaching program that I started to really accelerate the transformation in my results. It was like a year of major growth in our business because that's what frustrated me so much. I had a business, it was growing every year, but it was frustrating, these small amounts every year. I wanted quick growth. And so when I bought that, the growth went up quicker. Then the next program I bought was the Thinking into Results program, which is the one that I facilitate for business owners now and those natural born leaders. That program just went through the roof. That's when we got an offer for our business that was 4.5 times, literally 4.5 times the value of a business broker had done a a business valuation, a guy from Maroochydore. He had done a business valuation 6 months prior. 6 months later, through this material, because there's so much more to, I can't even begin to give you half of what we teach in that tonight. I'm only giving you a little step because there's just too much information. We do that over 6 months. And even then, we have business owners saying it's like they've got a fire hydrant of information coming in, but it just lifts them up every time. I've got one guy who, I mean, he's picking up contracts, big contracts all the time now. He's growing. He started a business, a new business. So he's got his existing business. They're picking up contracts in that. He started a new business, and already that's starting to grow just based on this information. So take notes. It's worth taking notes. That's all I did. Is I write notes for it. When you write it, you've got a better chance of retaining it. Okay. So how do we do this? Um, good. So why is personal leadership relevant? Well, I love this idea. If you take most people who achieve a level of success, generally it's because they've got talent, they've got a skill, they've got personal drive, and their personality propels them forward. So if we said from a 0 to 10 that a person is at an 8 in their personal success, the idea of going from 8 9 to 9 9 to 10 would require an enormous amount of energy. They would have to sacrifice more time. The sacrifice is often just too great to consider. So what else can they do? Well, the the thing that and I'll give you a diagram to describe this is excuse me, they get to lift their leadership ability. So let's just use this as an example. Let's say that leadership ability. So this is my effectiveness here, and I've got to an 8 out of 10. To go from an 8 to a 9, 9 to a 10 require too much sacrifice. So let's say that my leadership ability, because most people are natural born leaders, but very few people actually develop their leadership ability on a daily basis. Very few do. But if you do, this is what can happen. So let's say that my leadership ability out of 0 to 10 is a 4. That's the limit of my leadership ability. So that is the lid on my leadership ability. So if that's the lid on my potential, then my organization, my career, my department can never go past that. It will only ever get to a 3, maybe a 3.5. It'll never be a 4 because you can't operate at 100% all the time. So it'll be a 3 and a 3.5. So that's the limit of my business, my department, my careers. That's the lid on my ability, on my potential. But if I learn to lift my leadership ability from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7 to 8, now I've created capacity for growth for my business, my department, my career. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. That example comes from John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And he says that out of the 21 laws, not one is more important than others. And each law can stand on its own. It is not gender specific, it's not country specific. They all stand on their own. But he always makes the point if there was one law that he would teach first, it's the law of the lid. Because when people get the law of the lid, then for some people, they say, righto, I'm going to invest in myself and lift the lid on my potential because it's not, none of it is complicated. The beauty about all of this leadership learning, it's all designed for anyone to learn. We can all learn it. And in training with Tony Robbins recently, he does a lot of work with the um, I was going blank. The Oracle from Omaha. He's the investment man. Anyway, I'll think of his name now. And out of the top three things that he believes in investing in, investment in self is number one because no one can tax it, and you can always improve your ability to create more success in your life when you invest in yourself. People will spend money going on holidays, and they'll spend money on, expensive cars and expensive this and that because we're taught we deserve it. But when you invest in yourself and you bet on yourself, then you can have all those things and they become like, okay, I'll just get that, whatever I want. I don't have to save for it. I just build my business for it and I can, the money keeps coming. And that's his principle. So that's why personal leadership is relevant. So let's talk about the law of the lid. The law of the lid helps people understand the value of leadership. Leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of success. That's from John Maxwell. Your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness, impacts the potential of your career, business, and department. So, as I said, I had to lose everything for me to get to that point in my life where I could get absolute clarity of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. Did it happen overnight? No, because I had to get rid of old thinking, and I'll go through that in the diagrams coming up, and replace it with better. So the outcome of this leadership workshop is to give you 3 simple steps to lift the lid on your potential. A clear plan to cultivate your capacity to lead yourself to new levels of success in your chosen field. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Establish your purpose of effective, the purpose of effective leadership, why it's relevant to you, and then uncover one skill that'll mitigate opportunity cost in your career. Just one skill. There is a natural born leader in every single human being. That includes you. So let's talk about personal leadership. Leadership, again, if I go back to this book of John Maxwell's, I love what he says here about the myths of leadership. So I've had this where, I was the managing partner for 5 restaurants, and they were busy, 1,000 people a week going through them, and one of them was very popular in the area there was. But it didn't mean I was the leader in that organization just because I had an impressive title. There were people that were working in that 150 people working there. There were people within there that had control, because when I took it over, the reason why they gave it to me was failing miserably. It was losing money. All 5 businesses were losing money hand over foot because the way it was designed and the way it was led prior to that, people were just stealing alcohol and food, just going out the door every day. And there was no control. And the reason why that was is because the people that had access to all the food and all the beverages, they were the leaders in that organization. So I had to fire them all. All the barmen, I had to fire the barmen, I had to fire the managers, I had to fire, there was a managing partner in one of them. Said to him, sorry, you're ineffective, got to get out. And when they all went, cleared out all the thieves basically, and took the young fellows and the young ladies that were working in lower levels and raised them up. within 2 weeks, we're operating profitably. So there was an interesting area where the titles that people had, um, like myself as the managing partner, I ran it for months. It was still losing money, but as soon as I got rid of who the real leaders were, and they weren't good people, they were thieves, then it changed everything. Um, then, then I managed to get some credibility because the people below those thieves, they weren't getting any benefit, and they didn't like, people essentially are honest, and they didn't like the fact that they could see all of this theft happening, and they wanted to lift their career. They wanted to become barmen and managers and so on. They wanted, but their careers were being held back by these thieves, basically, like almost like a gang. Anyway, so impressive title or position doesn't mean that a person has a leadership, because it doesn't mean that people will follow them. Um, Title doesn't make a leader. A position only gives a person a chance. The next one was management. and John writes here that leadership is about influencing people to follow. Management focuses on maintaining systems and processes. That's what managers are really good at. Managers can maintain direction and often, but often they can't change the direction of the business. Systems and processes can only do so much, but to move people in a new direction, you need leadership. So the entrepreneur myth is that, not all entrepreneurs, even though most entrepreneurs think that they're a leader, but they're not necessarily good with people. An entrepreneur is really good at seeing a gap in the market for a product or a service and filling that. Doesn't mean that they're good with people, all right? And doesn't necessarily mean that people want to follow them. It might for the paycheck, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. High aptitude. The knowledge is a myth. You don't, neither IQ or education necessarily equates to leadership. It doesn't at all. Otherwise, our universities would be full of leaders. Every professor who's incredible brains would be a leader, but they're not. I mean, a lot of them can't lead much. Um, and then the last one is the pioneer. Another misconception is that anyone who's in the front of the crowd is the leader. It's not true. The leader, to be a leader, a person has to not only be out in front, but also have people intentionally coming behind them, following them, um, following his lead or her lead, and acting on their vision. A leader, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Vision is very important, and how you hold that space, that vision. Being a trendsetter is not the same as being a leader. So I love what John says here. He says, the only thing that a title can buy is a little time, either to increase your level of influence or to erase it. And I suppose that's what happened to that managing partner in that business. When I got in there, he was hardly coming to work. He liked to play a lot of tennis. And I thought, well, stuff that, his business is failing and the guy's going to play tennis. What's the go with this? Anyway, we erased that. For most, personal success is a result of their commitment to success, their personal drive. Personal drive and personality gets people a long way. Those larger than life. But when one lifts their personal leadership ability, everything changes. It doesn't matter about personal drive. Yes, you need to know why you're doing something, and you need to decide that you want to go somewhere. You have to have a desire, otherwise nothing happens. But when you start to develop your leadership ability, then you start to see things differently, and it's not that difficult. Actually, success is easier when you understand. So let's say that here it is, your personal commitment to success. Let's say it's on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is you're just bored and nothing's happened. And then 10 is extreme success, you know. And let's say that in your chosen field, you're at an 8 out of 10. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't mean that you're a multimillionaire, but your success. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's Earl Nightingale's definition of success. And Proctor took that on as well because he worked for Earl and he said, I can't improve on that. Success is a progressive realization of worthy ideal. So as Earl Nightingale says, if it's a mother who's who's you know, developing her family, that is success. If it's the carpenter who makes beautiful furniture, if it's the financier who earns millions of dollars, it doesn't matter what the interpretation of success is, but it's progressive realization of a worthy ideal, and that ideal has to be worthy to yourself. I go back to the definition of being authentic to yourself. The words that you say, the deeds that you do, balance with what you believe you're meant to do, be for your life. So let's say that you're an 8 out of 10, okay? So to go from an 8 to a 9, and then from a 9 to a 10 will require too much sacrifice. So it's not worth going that route. So the other option is on the y-axis is to start to develop your leadership ability. So let's say, like I said, if my leadership ability is a 4 out of 10, then that's my level of effectiveness. Now, my growth in my business, my department, my career can never go past a 4. Cannot go past it. Can only ever go to that. Then let's say that you have a business and you've employed leaders. If those leaders are greater, their leadership ability is greater than a 4, say theirs is a 5 or a 6, they will eventually recognize that your leadership ability is below theirs and they'll leave. That's what they'll do. They won't stick around because they are ambitious. They want to move on, so they will. So that is the lid on your potential when it comes to your leadership ability. And if we look at that from a opportunity cost point of view, then the opportunity cost is everything above is actually costing you money because your leadership ability is the lid. So if you want to start to lift your leadership lid, you'll close the gap on that opportunity cost. So there's a monetary idea. So let's say you go to a 7. Now you've created capacity for growth, and that's where, if we're talking money, because it's easy to measure money, that's when the income starts to change, it starts to shift. Okay, so your leadership ability is the lid on your personal and your organization's ability to grow to full potential. Question: what is your leadership number? You have to decide that. When you do decide that, then ask people what they think your leadership. Explain the whole idea. What would they say? Don't tell them what you said. Ask them what they would think. And you may be interested in the gap between what they think and what you think. Then work out if you lift your leadership lid from where it is to the next level and the next level and the next level, would that equate to doubling the revenue in your business, doubling the income that you bring home? Would that be what it is? Well, then that's what it's costing you. Then times that by the number of years left you've got in your work life. Times that. And then you get an idea of, okay, that's what it's costing you. Not a good thought if you know that you're leaving money on the table. Then you just need to make a plan. Just decide what you want to do. My recommendation, what changed for me, was the starting point was the 180-day thinking and results program, what we call our core leadership program. Do that. Just do it. because it changes everything straight away. Then after that, then there's higher and higher levels, which we'll go into, that you can go on to. And it just keeps increasing your ability to earn and to fulfill your true potential. How do you cultivate capacity for growth? Well, make progressive personal leadership learning a part of your lifestyle. That's what we specialize in. Part of your lifestyle every day, at least an hour a day. I study all the time. Love it. Why? Because you can't come up with new concepts unless you've got new ideas. So if you're not studying, this book here, I keep reading over and over. I keep reading it over and over. I keep reading the same stuff over and over. And you know what happens? Over time, my perception of what things are starts to shift, and I start to see more in what the author is saying. So I started right back when I lost everything. So I kind of just said, well, I don't know anything, clearly, because I just lost everything. So let me just start again, to start learning. And it's not that difficult, because if you think about it, if you're doing an hour a day, that's 7 hours a week. How many hours per month? How many hours per year? And do that over 4 or 5 years. If you multiply that out, it's almost like a university degree in one subject. And the one subject, we keep talking about it, is progressive personal leadership learning. That's all it is. And here's the separation. We're not talking about strategy. We're talking about developing your approach, your perception, your mindset, your state of mind, how you enter the day and how you finish the day every day with your attitude, a leadership attitude. And that, I'll give you diagrams to show that how that works, but that is a dynamic way to live. The study has been shown that the way that our mind is set on a daily basis, 95% of our results are caused through our mindset. The way that we habitually behave daily, our emotions drive our behavior. Behavior gives us our results. It's only 5% strategy, but we spend and invest enormous amounts of time on the next social media strategy, the next marketing strategy, the next people manipulation strategy, and so on. The next sales strategy, and so on. We spend enormous amounts of money and time on those sort of things, but if 95% of our results start with an inside job first, our mindset, then it makes sense to give it a lot of attention and help yourself shift your results. Okay. So three pillars to effective leadership. Purpose, know your why. Potential, once you know your why, now you start to see all the potential in your life. And with that why, that reason, that's at the core of your character. You build from there. You can start to explore the potential and start to cultivate that potential. But the potential, the purpose and the potential are protected by principles. The purpose and potential are actually propelled by good, sound business and leadership principles. Principles, they help make sure that their success is inevitable. So if you think about developing a leadership paradigm is a paradigm basically means there's a game, all right, a game to be played. So the paradigm game to be played has rules, it's got boundaries, it has a way to succeed. There's a way to play the game to succeed. And that's what a paradigm means. So when you're clear about your purpose, then you can focus on the potential from that point. And that is how you set yourself on the right path for success is starting with the reason why. Your purpose and potential are propelled and indeed protected by sound success principles. And they're universal. It's not like I've invented them. I haven't invented them. I just study them. And then I repeat them over and over, and I include them in the decision making process. So when life throws its best, which if you're growing, you're going to come across the next challenge that you have to overcome. Challenge, if you're not challenged, you're not growing. That's just the way it is. So if you've got problems, you know that you're growing. But usually those problems are outside your comfort zone. So you have to stretch. And most of the time, we don't know how to overcome the problem. But if you see every problem as an opportunity, then what happens is when you start to apply these sound principles, then it makes sense how to overcome the problem. When we kick the problem down the road, what most people find out is that more problems start to show up. So it's best to just address the challenge, overcome it. Now you grow, you know that you've learned that lesson, you keep going. When you overcome that one, you have the next one rock up. It's just the way it is. So three pillars to effective self-leadership: start a foundation, discover your purpose. Effective self-leadership starts with why. Second level is to develop that core and of your potential, and that's when the personal leadership learning process, the thinking into results process, is embedded into your thinking, and you start to think. Your leadership thoughts come from that. Okay, and then once you get through that, it's only 180 days, then you can start really hanging the understanding of advanced leadership principles onto that framework um, developed at your core of your character, thinking into results. Then people will go on to learn to lead followers and realize that there's so much more value in developing a legacy of leaders that you've helped develop their ability and lifted their lives through your understanding of leadership. That's when you create a legacy. So we start at level one, foundation. You're good at what you do and you know how to do what you do, but often forgotten why. And that's that empty feeling that people feel. Then at level two, or so let's go back to this. How do you start the discovery process? How do you uncover your reason why? Well, make it your mission to discover your purpose. Purpose and leadership is pretty straightforward. Okay, for every organization to rise to its full potential in terms of value creation and success in the fast-changing modern world, someone has to get everyone in the organization to rise to their full potential. So that might be your organization, or it might be a department that you run, or you might not even have the label as the leader of that department or that business that you work in, but still, the um, the natural born leader will assume a leadership position. That's what they do, and people will come to them and they will learn. If they've got the right tools and understanding of how to lead themselves, they'll be able to help others, and then others will decide they're the leader. And that's how people rise in any organization or lift their business, because they're building leaders on top of leaders. A leader that understands the value of being succeeded, they have explosive growth, because you cannot grow faster than you're giving away the tasks and the chores or the responsibilities you have, give them to other people so you can take on bigger and bigger responsibilities. That's if you want growth in your business or in the organization you want to you're working for. That's only if you want that. But you can stay where you are, but if you develop your leadership potential, you'll naturally just rise to the top. That's what will happen. So purpose in business, the ability of the leader impacts the potential of every career in the organization. That's the responsibility part. and it also includes impacting the leader's career, the potential of every organization in terms of creation of success. Therefore, is a process of human transformation first. So if we go to step two, once you decide, okay, well, I'm going to make it my mission to discover my why. I actually took years to really uncover my why. There were a couple of distractions along the way, but I've actually arrived here eventually. But I say years. I'm not saying that you'll do the process and tomorrow you'll know what your why is. You might, um, but the chances are you would have to start a process of uncovering, unpacking the truth of who you are. So the first thing is just decide, okay, I'm going to start navigating my course, my um, pathway to effective becoming an effective leader myself. Just navigate. So what do I want next? What do I genuinely want next? Genuinely want, not what can I get, what is possible, what do I want? And it'll probably be outside of your comfort zone. That's the right one, because that what you have to do is you have to figure out how to get there. And there's a process for that. So that's level two. So um, I think I went the wrong way. I'm pressing the wrong button. That's all right. We'll survive. Okay, back on track. Level three, when you decide where you want to go, what happens is your habitual side of you, your paradigm, will start to show resistance because it has never been to where you want to go before, so it has no understanding how to get there. You said you want to go there, but this is all you understand. And so the resistance starts. So once you decide to cultivate your leadership paradigm, then you have to learn how to shift your paradigm. You have to be willing and able. So the able part is just learn. You learn how to uncover what's holding you back and replace non-productive ideas, beliefs, habits with better performing ideas, thoughts, and habits. And it's a process. Okay, anyone can learn it. We teach this to children, and children pick it up quicker than adults because they've got less resistance. But definitely, when you set a new audacious goal, resistance will show up and shut many people down. Most people get shut down by it, but a leader, when they understand what they have to go through to keep lifting their career, their business, and so on, they'll just work it into their daily lifestyle. Right. So there's always a gap between what you know and what we do. And that's what causes frustration because as you get older, you know more, but you're still doing the same. You're getting the same results, but you know more. And there's a gap. So how do you close that gap that pulls apart? Well, science is telling us that 95% of the way that we operate is conditioned thinking. So we can, know all this information about shifting the paradigm, and so we can read the books and we can watch the YouTube videos over and over, feel a little bit inspired. Tomorrow we wake up and we go back into our routine. We can come to seminars. The thing with seminars and even doing, listen to what I'm saying here, it doesn't transform people over time. With when people have a process, they will transform their performance, their leadership, personal leadership ability. But in these sort of events, people do make decisions, so they are good, but it's not where the transformation generally happens. So people get motivated and they get inspired and they tell themselves they're going to do something, and just like New Year's resolutions, often forgotten within a couple of weeks. So to be deliberate in shaping your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. That's the simplicity of it. And it is really simple. It's not easy because we don't often want to invest time and effort into doing the internal work required to shift the results that we get. And for a lot of people, they just aren't aware of this information. Okay. So level four, then we help people just establish order in their mind. give them a picture of the mind, understand that you've got six intellectual factors that we're not necessarily taught about, but are absolutely they're absolutely wonderful free gifts that we've been given at birth. That our imagination, our intuition, our memory, our perception, our ability to reason, and the will, which is the ability to focus on one thing at a time and create what it is that we want with our imagination. They're very powerful when they're like a mental muscle. Just like if I go to the gym and exercise that, it will strengthen. The same with your mental muscles, and that's what this program that I'm talking to you about is designed to do: is help you to develop that mental muscle so that you can just continue on once you start using it, it becomes a habit of how you progress through life, and it just lifts all the time. Then we go into once you've got all this information, you're about ready to start to look at the concept you hold of yourself, your identity, which is often not the truth of who you are. So what we do is we show you how to progressively connect with the core of your character, the truth of who you are. And once you uncover your true identity, the confidence level, your self-image changes, your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself changes, and then how you show yourself to the world, which is your confidence, shifts completely. And that's how it works: thoughts, feelings, and what the world sees. So it starts at the core of your character. A lot of self-help books for over 100 years now have focused on personality traits, which is the way that the way people see us acting. So they say if you say these things in a certain way, then people will, and if you smile at a certain time, if you stand upright, and if you hold your hands in a certain way, and you shake in a certain way, people will have a perception. They're all true, but they are personality traits, which is external. When you understand the core of your character and that's shining through, it always starts inside job first and it comes through, then you become unstoppable because that's the truth of you. That's your foundation, right? So we go. So self-image, Maxwell Maltz wrote a wonderful book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Many people have read that. It's a absolute um, kind of um, foundation of this whole study in self-image. It sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. It defines what you can and cannot do. People use the word "I can't do it" when they form the habit of doing it. It becomes a an automatic response, an automatic reaction to a certain situation, holds them where they are. The truth is they can. All they have to do is get the right information and they'll be able to do it. All right. Expand the self image and you expand the area of what's possible. All right. So then we go to level 6 and then you take new inspired action with a leadership attitude. The reason for that is that you've got a new belief system that you cultivating within you, and you start taking action on that, you start getting new results. And we teach people about attitude. Now, attitude is very powerful because understand this: from where you are now to where you genuinely want to be in life, it's never a straight line. Always going to take backwards and forwards, ups and downs. Going to be some losses. There are going to be some wins. But if you're not able to understand how to maintain a personal leadership attitude that keeps moving you forward in the right frame of mind, you'll get blown off course. And it could cost you years, it could cost you money. But when you understand how to maintain a good, a dynamic personal attitude towards life and towards accomplishing what it is that you genuinely want, the ups and downs will come and go. That's the seasons of life, and you'll keep moving forward progressively. Go to level 7, then we start to learn to build healthy relationships, starting with self, then with others. how to leave other people the impression of increase all the time so that people are drawn to you. You know, if you want to grow an organization, grow a business, you need people, you need customers, you need people to work in your organization. Otherwise, it'll only ever be a one man band. It'll never expand into something greater than you. And so when you learn to build healthy relationships, then things can progress. Now we're starting to get into the third level, which is advanced, and that's where you start to incorporate universal success principles. And we've got wonderful programs for that, like the new Lead the Field that Bob Proctor is absolutely he's created an absolutely wonderful program based around the universal laws of success. Then we've got the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace B. Wattle that Bob taught for years. And again, it's it takes all these universal laws and it shows you how to incorporate them practically into your life once you've built the core foundation. Then we go into mastery, developing leadership paradigm, where you learn to lead followers. And then lastly is developing your legacy. For some people, they'll decide at a young age, well, what's the point of building followers when I can build leaders and really escalate my life? And a good example would be, I suppose, um, say, for instance, the McDonald's story. So two brothers, they invent the McDonald's system, and then they really successful at it and earning. They're really financially secure, making a lot of money out of it, and they're getting a lot of inquiries. I think that was sort of in the early 50s. They were getting a lot of inquiries. 300, they say 300 a month, phone calls and letters. You know, can you show us, lead us, teach us. And so they thought, well, here's an opportunity. Let's franchise our idea, which wasn't a new idea. That I mean, franchising has been around for a while. So they went into trying to franchise. Now these guys were good at running their systems. They're good at managing their business. They were very profitable, but they didn't have the leadership ability to franchise their product. They I think that I understand they sold 15 and only 10 ever opened up. But that was it. That was the lid on their leadership ability when it came to developing um, the business in that respect. Along comes Ray Kroc, partners with them, eventually buys them out. He invested for 8 years in a team which he borrowed money for that of leaders that developed the franchise system, and however many McDonald's there are around the world, 38,000 or something in however many countries around the world. It was just Ray Kroc had a different level of leadership ability. And so that's the difference. It depends, you know, if someone's listening to me here and saying, well, I only ever want to be a level 4, great. Why why not become a level 8? Why not become a level 9? Because as I go back to this, the difference in compensation is vast. If you're going to invest an hour, this was one thing that I never could get my head around. When we listed a company in tourism, I did a lot of work in sales. I ran the sales offices, and at that stage, I was probably um, good at starting businesses. I did start businesses, and but managing them wasn't my forte. And but so we used to work long hours, so 12 hours, 7 days, Christmas Day, Easter Day, just worked because we were busy. The business was growing massive. It was massive, and I used to say to my wife, how does this work? Why don't we work really hard for 3 hours and earn the same amount of money that we did working 12 hours, 7 days a week, Christmas Day and everything? Why don't we just work 3 hours a day, work 5 days a week? Why don't we just turn it around? And it's because we believed in hard work rather than They've always said, I never understood the whole thing, work smart. I get it now, where you have a different understanding and you can still create enormous results by not absolutely flogging yourself. Anyway, so that's my point. If you're going to work an 8-hour day, why don't you just get more information, develop a different skill, a leadership, personal leadership skill, and earn more doing less? Not everyone's going to do this, learn to be a leader. So there'll always be the person who will just wake up and follow what everyone else is doing, the follower. That's what they will do. But if you have spent time thinking about, well, maybe there's another way of doing it. Maybe instead of having one holiday a year, maybe I can take a holiday every other month. You can design your life like that. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense when you understand and you lift your leadership ability. It happen because it's happened to me when I was in the trenches of our business, which wasn't a pleasant business to be in. That I'll tell you for free. But um, I did it for a purpose. One, that my reason, my why was I wanted to see my daughters grow up and go to some of their events and things like that. I wanted a business that would pay for our mortgage, and actually did, and bought us an investment property. And when we sold it, it's actually really good. Um, but but I knew what it was for, and there was a point where it's just like really physical work, long hours, and I had to really get my head right with this material to ship that. And literally, it shifted quite quickly. And in fact, in the last year that we owned that business, it made the most profit. I eventually, the company that bought it, I had to manage it for a year, which is a bit of a joke because I keep saying I'm not a very good manager. Fortunately, my wife's a very good manager. She was doing, but she was down to like 2 days a week, and I would come into the office, and I literally had nothing to do. Eventually, they said, "Look, we'll pay you, just don't come to the office." And I did. I think for the last month, I didn't even go to the office. Maybe I just went in to say hello, have a cup of tea. But that's how it shifts. And it's amazing how it works when you start to understand how to develop your leadership ability. Lift the lid on your potential. So, how do you get human transformation? Let's say that you're leading a team or an organization. Can you say you can effectively lead a team? It's a good question to ask yourself. Before you can effectively lead a team, you must be able to effectively lead just one other person. This all makes sense. Can you effectively lead even just one other person before knowing how to effectively lead yourself first? How do you get people to their highest potential? Well, ultimately, the ultimate journey of transformation organization from a human potential standpoint, the maximum engagement of everyone to their full potential, all starts with you learning to master your own potential. How do you master your own potential? Well, I submit to you that leadership in every home, organization, community is built on three pillars. It's your reason why, discover your purpose, that's the foundation. And at your core, there's enormous potential. When you develop that and understand how to maximize that, then you just protect that and you propel it with incorporating universal success principles. Now, it might sound like I'm repeating myself, and there's a reason for that, because if you get those 3 points, that's really the steps. Why? Develop the core of your potential by incorporating a framework of leadership learning into your core, and you just build from there. And then you hang on that framework, all these universal leadership principles. So, human truth, we are at our most productive when we believe in the work that we're doing and we have the freedom to passionately pursue that work. Passion gives people power to persevere regardless of conditions. How do you lead yourself into passionately pursuing what you do? Effective self-leadership is a skill. It's a skill anyone can learn. It is a skill. So here's the foundation of self-leadership. This is the discovery of why. Okay. And level one is discover your purpose. Discover your why. That's the original intent. Why you came to planet Earth and the role you meant to play in making your workplace or your family life a better place by playing your role. That is the value that people will see in you when you start to express that. That is what other people need. And when they need it, they'll pay you for it. Okay. So when you start to ask yourself, make it your mission to discover your purpose. What am I meant? What are the things I'm good at? Not what you're bad at, what you're good at. What do you enjoy doing the most in your workplace? And then you give yourself ask the question, what is it that I genuinely want in your workplace, or it might be something personal. What do I want? One thing. I generally, and Bob used to say to us always, set a financial goal. So I'll give you an example. When I was in Sydney, lost everything, driving around selling, I was selling contracts to put ATMs into 7-Elevens and convenience stores and RSLs and so on. So every contract I'd get a commission, and they were healthy, but I wasn't selling enough of them. The commission was good, but I wasn't selling enough of them. So I met people that were paying a couple of $1,000s a week for a couple of hours of entertainment. And I thought, well, if these people can spend a couple of $1,000s a week on personal entertainment, surely I can earn $1,000 a day. Figure it out. I don't know how. I just said, no, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set that as my goal, because that would help me pay back some of the debts and help us, move on to buy a house and all that sort of thing. It didn't happen straight away, but then I started to get $1,000. Then I got another $1,000. Then I hit a $2,000 day or $3,000 day. And then eventually we bought the business. Then in the first year, I was, wow, we're starting to earn this kind of money. Then we started to employ people because I got really sick. So we had to employ people and our income went down. Then it started to rise again. And we started to go through this sort of cycle. But ultimately, we started to earn that kind of money and it would start coming in over and over. But it started with setting a new direction. That new direction gave me conviction. I said, I'm going to, if that guy can do it, I can do it. If that guy can do that, I can do it. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. Then I started to build a vision, which I've got here. Errol worked through with me how to build a story of ideal day in my life 10 years from now, 5 years from now. I wrote it. I'm living that now. Now, it's not that I read that every day, but I wrote it down. And it's kind of the story of an ideal day. I kind of live that now. There's only one thing in there. Well, there's actually a few things that haven't come yet, but that's fine. They'll come because I still want them for my life. So you engineer that vision of what it is how you want to live, and that's kind of your purpose and pictures. And don't at any moment say how. That'll come. You need to set the intention first. You need to be outcome focused. What's the outcome? And then everything starts to kind of fall in behind. You can, where most people spend a lot of time is they start writing down, okay, these are the tasks, and they get overwhelmed and they bin it. Just say outcome. What do I want? And then every day you might write down 6 things that will take you forward, and you might only accomplish a couple. I had 6 things to do today. They were really important. I only got through 3, and I didn't stop working. It's like, and then we switched on this, and I started, haven't stopped. So that was starting at I started relatively early because I'd study first thing up. Started at 5, and now it's 7. I'm talking to you. It's actually more. It's 8:30 now, and the whole day I only got through 3. So tomorrow I'll just start with the others. That's the easiest way of doing it, rather than I got to do this, I got to do this, build a 5-year business plan, chuck it in the bin in 2 months because everything changes so quickly in our economy now. It means nothing. Just be outcome focused. Maybe go for 3 months, 90-day goals, milestones, 90-day milestone. That's all I'm going to do. But keep the picture, the outcome of what you want, as if it's already arrived. So you've got all the detail. If it's a car that you want, get pictures of the car. That's how I got my new Land Cruiser. Just when I set it as a goal, I couldn't afford it. Then 2 years later, we were able to buy it, cash. And so do that because it works. Then what happens is you start to get passionate about the picture that you hold. This is the vision. All right. What happens now is that those assumptions that you're making, you get really into it. So then the enthusiasm you start to get inspired ideas, inspired thoughts, because you're moving now in your mind. You're not saying I can't. You're saying, all right, what next? What next? What am I going to do next? You're starting to lift the level of enthusiasm towards that thing that you want. And enthusiasm is an interesting thing because it draws people in, it influences other people. Influence empowers others. It means the transfer of meaning to others. You start to give, when you hold that picture, now as the leader, people are looking to the picture, not you and your personality. So you're taking the pressure off yourself, putting it to the picture. You're drawn to the picture. The people that, if you run a company or a department, those people will be drawn. If you're on your own, the people around you will be drawn to what you're doing because that's all you talk about and you get animated about it. And then ultimately, that's when others will choose you as the leader. Position, as we've already said, that just is a starting point. But when you follow this process and you create that vision and you hold that space of the thing that you want, then you draw people in, and that's when people follow you. And if you build it big enough and you recognize the natural born leaders that are starting to be drawn to you, develop the natural born leaders so that you can hand responsibility and you can keep growing. Right. So I'll give you a graphic demonstration of that. So this stick figure is the basis of Bob Proctor's teaching. It's helped transform millions of people's lives over 60 years. Okay. It transformed everything for me because it gives a picture of the mind. No one's ever seen the mind. If I go to the doctor, I cut this hand. Okay, let's say I cut it. If I go to the doctor, say, can you see? Yeah, I can see you cut your hand. Says to the nurse, can you flush it out? The nurse flushes it out. He stitches it up because he can see where to put the needle. Then he puts some betadine and a band-aid, and then he's repaired that wound. When we've got a wound in our mind, we have no picture. So how do you fix the wound? Well, I'm going to give you a picture that you can help fix the wound. Okay. So let's use the top circle, and it's not how it is. If a psychologist is watching this, you'll probably freak out. But let's just say for this example, the top half is your mind, bottom half is your body. The body is an instrument of the mind. The mind directs the body to do things, and then we get our results. Okay, so let's have a look at this quickly. Your conscious mind is the top half, and your subconscious mind is the bottom half. The subconscious is your emotional mind. It is not the thinking mind, it's the emotional mind. It's where your habits, your beliefs, it's where your routines, all of that all reside in the subconscious mind. It's where your attitude, a major part of your attitude comes from. Your top half of your mind is your thinking mind or your reasoning mind. Okay, so in your conscious mind, your thinking mind, what connects us to the outside world are our physical senses. So, we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Those 5 senses give us the ability to experience life. It's not meant to be used to navigate life. It's meant to experience life. So our navigation of life is through using our six mental faculties. That's our imagination, intuition, perception, memory, reason, and the will. Okay, this is the ability to originate an idea and then hold that image of that idea in our imagination uh, long enough for it to permeate and penetrate the treasury of your subconscious mind, where the emotional mind. Okay, and so let's say that you ask yourself the question: is your attitude influenced by outside circumstances? So if the news says that the economy is in turmoil, that the interest rates are going up, does it put you in a mood, in a bad mood? Are you starting to use words? Well, what's the point? My business is going to fail. If you're a real estate agent, maybe you'd be saying with an interest hike, oh well, there goes my commission. I'm not going to sell as many homes. Well, that's if you let your life be led by outside circumstances. People often make enormous amounts of money in all kinds of economic turmoil. There are people who made in times of financial crashes and so on. There's people who made enormous amounts of money. I'll give you an example. When COVID hit, our business, we had a service business. It grew. It grew. We made more profit in the COVID year than any other year because people had extra money and they had more time and so on. So our services were an essential service, so our sales went through the roof. So it, it, you know, it doesn't happen for everyone, but it can happen if you wanted to, because you just shift to um, to where the opportunity is. So when your perception is, if you say, "Well, I'm overwhelmed by the circumstances," when you consciously say that to yourself and you imagine it, then it will impact your emotional state. When you do, your emotional state will impact the way that you act and behave, the decisions that you make, and that will cause your body to move in a certain way, give you the result that you're getting. And then when you get that result, then for most people, they will see, hear, smell, taste, touch the result. And so that's the cycle that their results will stay in until they say enough, imagine a different idea, and then lift the level of their performance. So, how do you change that? Well, start by uncovering your why. The strength that holds me to my purpose is not my strength, but the strength of my purpose itself. That's Albert E. Gray. Bob Proctor used to quote him all the time. It's a great document. The um, I can't think of the name of the article. I've read it that many times anyway. But I love that quote of Albert E. Gray um, because when you hold that vision, it becomes bigger than who you are. It's not your personal drive that's driving you to success. You're being drawn by what it is that you've decided that is your intention, and you're going after that. So let's say that most people sense something within that's seeking expression. It feels like hope for something bigger, something better. And let's say that it's a seed or an idea that's within you. Okay. So let's call it hope. So let's say that the hope is sitting within the emotional mind, the subconscious mind, and it's at the core of who you are. And you decide consciously to make it your mission to discover your purpose. Now, what's happened is you start to uncover what's important to you, not what you have to do, what you habitually do, and what others expect you to do. You start to uncover what's important to you. So then a root starts to grow out of that seed, that spiritual seed that's within you. An idea is just energy, no different to, let's say, my fist is an acorn, and within that acorn there's the mighty oak. No different. That seed of hope that you have within you is your purpose, your reason why seeking expression in the world. So let's say you take your attention off what's happening in the conscious world. It's not um, it's secondary. What's primary is what's possible. You start to imagine what's possible. And you set yourself a new direction in line with what you believe. Remember what being authentic, or um, being having integrity with yourself is setting in line with your belief. That gives you conviction. This is what I believe in. I'm going to go after this. I'll work my normal job to the best of my ability, but I'm going to go in this direction as well. I'm not saying leave your job. I didn't do that. Continue to build the business that I didn't have any passion for it. I was grateful for it, but it was a means to an end. It wasn't but we were earning good money, but that got to a point where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore in my life. I want to do what I love to do for the afternoon of my life. So engineer the vision of what you want to experience next, the next destination, a compelling picture of your purpose. Now that picture has got some leaves on it, it's got branches, and it starts to build passion because you can start to see, okay, well, that's what my life is going to look like when I get there. And I have to go from here to there. That's all that has to happen. However long it takes, it doesn't matter. It's better than just staying where you are, and then you're still going to get to that point in your life anyway. But now you're saying, well, I've got hope of something better. And the passion is what gives that picture vibrancy. It makes it in technicolor, three-dimensional in your mind. Okay. And when you like that, then people are drawn to you because you you portraying meaning to something that you're creating, and people feel that. It's not what they logically hear, it's what they feel from you, and that's what attitude is. It's a feeling. Passion gives you absolute power. Okay, so your self-image now starts to tap into the heart of your identity, your core of your character, right within. It's an inside job first. Okay, hold that vision long enough so that's holding that space. I don't know if you've ever watched. My daughter's a horse whisperer, and when they've got a horse that's misbehaving, they often calm themselves right down and they hold the space with the horse, and it might be misbehaving all over. They just hold this space, an image of the horse being calm, and eventually the horse calms down. And you know that there's a connection when the horse starts to lick their lips. They start to move their lips and they lick them. You know that it's gone from this fight and flight mentality and it's calmed down. Its connection with the horse trainer, with the horseman, and it's just beautiful to watch. I see my daughter do it over and over, where she's gone in and the horse is running away. She pushes it away, and then she turns in a certain way and holds her body in a certain way, and the horse comes to connect. It's called join up. It's a wonderful thing to watch. Anyway, human beings are the same. When you hold, you've got a team of people, and you're holding the space of this vision for something better in the future. Eventually, you'll draw the people in. The people that will resist forever, they're not part of your team. Ignore them. Don't let them determine the level of your progression. Okay, but most people, if you are reasonably skilled in your leadership ability, if you hold the picture, they'll buy the picture. You'll give their work meaning, and it's a wonderful thing when that happens. Okay. So now when it starts to grow, it's growing bigger than you are. And that's when you get pulled along with others on the picture. So it becomes a picture that's outside of you. It's the vision that you cast that others can see, and you're not the center of it. It's out of you. Okay. Your authentic confidence now allows you to take new inspired action confidently. That's where we're going. That's what we have to do. There's no logical reason why. You have to sell the idea to the accountant, who has to go and do the due diligence and so on, and find the reasons why it won't work. You just got to hold that. And then when you, through that determined and diligent process of the creative process, And you get there, the accountant says, "Oh, good, look at the profit now." Because that's all they can do. They are reason, logic. That's all they can see is what's been created. But the leader has to create and has to be able to create the vision to allow others to be drawn into it. Okay. Um, when that happens, when it grows bigger, confidence and courage and conviction become part of everyone and replaces that lackluster kind of comfort zone, you know, conformity. While everyone else is doing that, let's just do that. Let's just put 5% growth or 10% growth on this company or department. That's bollocks. When you've got the energy lifted up within and everyone's operating to their full potential, you can break all kinds of records. That's what can happen. The reason why I can say that confidently because it's happened to me, and I've already explained. I'm just an ordinary guy, but I do understand these principles because I've learned them for that long. I've applied them in my life that many times that I can tell you they work for anyone who applies them diligently. And it doesn't mean you have to work harder. No, it work less to get better results. That's a better formula. I like that formula. So being authentic is when what you say and do is in balance with what you believe. So when the tree grows, the fruit comes off the tree. Now the fruit's not for the leader, it's for others. That's where that's why it's so important to live from your purpose, because then others will benefit and you get paid for that value that you create. It's the value you create in other people's lives. So the leader is not about getting, the leader is about giving it away. Give your value away and it comes back because people say, no, he's the leader. Let's pay him to be the leader. He is the business builder of his own business. Let's join that business and grow in that business and become leaders in that business, and the business grows. When you get to play the role that you're born for, then you get to say, this is genuinely who I am. So I'd like to leave you with an idea. If you write down on a daily basis, make it my mission, I'm making it my mission to discover my purpose, and you start to write down, look back over your career at all the high points and what it is at that high point, in those high points, that you love to do the most. And you'll start to see a pattern. Start to make notes of that. Okay. Set your mind right every morning by writing out 10 things that you're grateful for. I am so profoundly happy and grateful now that I'm happy, healthy, wealthy. Even if you're not wealthy, assume it. Okay. You want to be grateful. You're grateful for the relationships you have with maybe a significant other, with maybe children, maybe your parents. It doesn't matter who, friends and family, for your colleagues, for the business that you're creating, for the beautiful home that you are dreaming about, for the boats, the cars, the Rolex watches, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever lights your fire, just be grateful for them. I write for 5 things that I'm grateful for that I have right now, and then 5 things that are coming. And write them. Holidays, sport that you do, and just be grateful for each one of them. Then do that every morning. 10. Write it out in longhand. Don't type it. Write it. It's like a magic wand. It's taking what's in this unseen thought world, bringing it into the world. Write it. Then just send goodwill to 3 people that annoy you, 3 people that you don't like. Send goodwill to them. Write their names down. Feel yourself, not say it, feel yourself sending goodwill. Then just spend a moment and just ask if you believe in God or if you believe in energy or universe, just ask for inspiration. Just one idea. Just one idea. And just be quiet for a moment. However long you can concentrate and stay quiet. Just tell your mind, stop worrying about what's coming in the future and stop fretting about what's happened in the past. Just like be present in the moment right now and just say, just one idea, two ideas every day. Practice that. Make that a habit. So what are you doing? You're doing four things. One, I'm making it my purpose to discover, making it my mission to discover my purpose, my reason why. What is my role to play in society, in my organization, in my family? What is my role to play? Why have I come to planet Earth? What am I meant to do? Just ask that question. Okay, that's one. Two, then you write out 10 things that you're grateful for. Five, first five, what you have. Five, what's coming. Then the third thing to do, you send in well-being. For some of you, send, if they really, really annoy you, send them love. Literally think of someone or something, a dog or something that you absolutely adore. Send that same feeling to those people. Just packets of it. If you're a person who gets annoyed on the road when you're driving, I used to be that guy. Every car that's coming towards you, every car that's behind you, send well-being. What it does, it's so powerful. Sandy Gallagher talks about this. Sandy Gallagher was in a former life. She came when she graduated out of law school, which she went to a few of the top in America. She graduated number one for her area of law in the country of the United States of America. She graduated first. She's a very accomplished woman. She had, major. She focused on investment banking, and that's what she did: mergers and acquisitions in investment banking for years. For 20 years, I think she did that, and she was very good at it. And when she partnered with Bob Proctor in the Proctor Gallagher Institute, she realized this is what she really wanted to do. She had a big problem. One of her clients phoned her in law practice and said, I've got massive business. I don't know how big his business was going. I think it was like $100 million business going belly up. She said, just do the gratitude, exactly what I've just told you. 10 grateful things in the morning. The guy couldn't believe that, just coming out of the lawyer that he was phoning to get advice on what to do with these businesses. She said, do that. It all repaired. Business is in the spiritual realm. You can deny it if you want, but that's how it is. And when you start to learn to play the game from a spiritual point of view, where you're putting yourself in the right frame of mind, where you're thinking well-being, you're acting, talking, believing well-being in business, in yourself, in your relationships, it starts to shift how you approach business. You know, Bob always said the the professional in every organization is able to do work without competing. Competing, in what the modern terms is like getting one over a person, is not really what competition was designed for originally. And the original understanding of competition, was for two parties or two teams to come together to help lift each other up, because one would win, the other one would say, well, why did I win, and could learn from that so they can lift their ability. It's not about domination, not at all. It's about lifting each other up. That's what the whole idea is. So I hope that that helped you tonight. And like I say, if you have any questions on that, please feel free to contact on the email or on the Facebook. Good evening.